Alright, hello, welcome to another video. As you can see by the topic, I wanted to talk about players to watch in Europe this year. Now, this comes with a few things I've got to say beforehand. First of all, this is just kind of players that I want to watch and I think are quite storied, and there's a reason that I'm going to go through for each of these players. This does not mean they're the best players. It does not mean that, these players are the worst players. There are a lot of players who haven't made this list, who are it's more because I kind of know what to expect from them. I don't think we're going to see anything massive with them, or they've just been very consistent. So there are a lot of really good players not going to be in this video, so if you are one of those players, don't worry about it. But this isn't about you, this isn't about the best players in Europe, this is just about players to watch. Unfortunately, I actually have a list, because I made a list for this. Some people will disagree with this list, some people will kind of get it, but these are the players I'm kind of interested in, and I think you should be as well. So first on my list is Gotaga. Now, Gotaga for me, and I've said this in videos that I've done before on this channel, it was coming to a point with me and Gotaga where I didn't know whether or not he'd continue playing. I didn't think he was hungry. And then the last 6 months of AW, I thought he was superb. I thought he was a really good player. I thought, maybe, it really suited him. AW was his kind of game. The issue we have kind of now is that was with an English team, and now he's back with a full French squad. And I'm not fully convinced that he's going to have that same performance or the same results. I'm a little bit worried that when he's in a full French team, him and the rest of his team just aren't really going to put up the results. I don't see them being a big threat this year to a lot of teams. But, they're still probably middle of the field at the very least. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of curious to see how that French team works. And Gotaga, after having such a good last 6 months in AW, I think may have a slight downward turn, but more because of the team and the chemistry, and because he's not able to play in a team full of UK players. The next one is Swanny. Now, Swanny had a massive year last year, and more in the fact that just his branding went through the roof. He had the Optic time, and he had Epsilon in America. He played in America for a long while, and we weren't expecting to see him back in the UK, but he is back in the UK now. And one of the main criticisms of Swanny last year was the fact that his playstyle may not suit the game at times, like the pace of it. We know he likes to kind of be more stationary, positioning, and kind of run that long sight line that we usually see him play. The difference is the Black Ops 3 is almost like a part it was designed for Swanny. There are so many great points of cover, so many kind of those head glitches or chest-high walls for him to kind of get behind, some great burst ARs as well. Basically, this game was almost built for him. And where we had that criticism last year, that same criticism won't be here. It's very different mechanics. I really actually expect to see him kind of excel in that area. We're going to see him laying heavy anchors, going to get massive cuts. I think as long as he's not counterplayed too much, which can happen, we have seen in some of the tournaments already, he should be fun. He should have a really big year in terms of his gameplay should speak for itself. So that's kind of why I'm going to keep an eye on him. The next member of this, and same member of the same team actually, is going to be Tommey. For me, Tommey had an average year last year. I don't think he was particularly bad in any places. I don't think he was particularly amazing either, and that comes down to several reasons. One of which is how his team kind of went down. He had a few changes. It kind of went a few different ways, and that's not all of his fault, but I never really saw him excel or do anything super amazing. There are points, don't get me wrong, there are montage points with him, and he did have some big plays, but consistency-wise, I didn't see, he wasn't just a bigger factor as I'm supposed to used to him seeing. The game changer, as he's nicknamed. However, I go back to Black Ops 2 and I think about Tommey on Black Ops 2 and what a great counter player he was, what a great search and destroy player, and kind of how much direction he had with his team. And I'm thinking, is that going to be recaptured on Black Ops 3? Is Black Ops 3 going to be Tommey's game and be this massive uptick for him? Not only that, but this is one of the strongest rosters he's been in for at least a year, and this roster really should allow him to excel. So I want to see Tommey, kind of excel this year, and I think we're going to see a lot more of him because of the players he's playing with. The next person on my list is going to be Moose. Now, Moose had a great start to last year, but then it all kind of went to shit. And Moose will say this as well. Moose got a lot of criticism, and I think he's still got a lot to prove. And this has got to be Moose's year for him. He had same sort of criticisms that Swanny had, but it was more about he was too kind of slow in places, maybe didn't put enough pressure on in places. Plus, there was that whole thing with Aches and TP when he joined with him and Jurd. It just kind of all fell apart for Moose, and now he's come back in here. He's in a good squad. He probably feels a lot of that pressure off now. So for me, this is what you got to look for Moose. This is his chance at redemption. New squad, new game. if he's going to perform, then he can probably get back into being a household name and wipe away that kind of stain on his reputation that was put there at the end of AW. I don't think Moose is really going to struggle that much this year. I think he's going to have a good year, but at the same time, you know, it's all the pressure's on him. It's only up to him whether or not he can kind of make everyone forget about what they were saying about him. And I do think a lot of people were way too harsh about Moose last year. It was more a team chemistry thing than just Moose. But when you've got top players having these arguments in the squad, then that's what's going to happen. But like I said, there's a reason you have to keep an eye on Moose this year. It's more of a redemption period for him. The next player is Zero. Now, Zero was actually the reason this entire video came about, because I kind of picked Petey years ago in Black Ops 2 as my player to watch, and he's grown up and he has kind of come into the player we expect of him. Zero at the end of AW impressed me so much, he had to be my player for this year, and I was going to make it a while ago, but I was kind of refining this list. Zero, for me, has the potential to be one of the top players in Europe on this game without any shadow of a doubt. I think once he gets to see, he has come leaps and bounds since we kind of first saw him come into the top echelon of Call of Duty, and he continues to do really, really well. I think we're going to continually see Zero at the top of his game. I think Infused are going to do really well this year. So yeah, for me, keep an eye on Zero and watch this guy progress. By the end of this year, I expect we'll be speaking about him in the same breath as we do some of the other legends of European Call of Duty. But we'll find out. The next one here was actually, like I said, Zero kind of started this, and then I was going to add this second name in, and then it's gone into kind of a list. But the second name here is SunnyB. Now, SunnyB, for me, has been one of the great underachievers of European Call of Duty for a long time. Now, he's been playing with top players for quite a while, but has never been in the team or never really shined. He's just kind of always been on the cusp. He's a great player, but he's just not really breaking through into those the faces that we kind of know and recognise in European Call of Duty. If SunnyB can get a big team, now he didn't qualify for the CWL with Orbit, which is a big kind of smash to this, because this video was going to go up before the CWL qualifiers. But SunnyB, for me, if he can get into the right squad, is really going to excel, and probably will see him start to come into his own. But it's whether or not he can make it, because he's always just been on that cusp. I mean, he's been playing with top players for a while, and he still plays with these guys. And he's just never got the recognition he deserves, because he's never been in that position to get that recognition. So keep an eye on him. If he gets his break, if he gets a big break, there's a good chance we'll see a lot more of SunnyB over the next year. Next player is going to be Bance. Now, this is funny if his teammate kind of said, let's talk about Bance a little bit. And for me, he's a player that people are starting to recognise here. He's done, some really good work in some of the big tournaments he's got to, some good exposure, and people are starting to recognise him now. I mean, for me, if he can kind of get his face out there more and maybe go on camera a little bit and kind of show people who Bance is, I think a lot of people are going to quickly wise up to this guy being a major factor in his squad and being able to kind of put down serious numbers when we expect him to. For me, keep an eye on Bance. I'm hoping to see him kind of come more to the forefront. He's not one of those people that does an awful lot of social media or camera work and stuff, so he's a very, very good player that flies below the radar, and there are a few players like that. Next player's not a player who flies below the radar. He is one of the most storied players in Call of Duty. It's MarkyB. MarkyB didn't have a great year last year, not in terms of playing, but more in terms of being bounced from team to team. And it was really gutting to see, because I saw Marky play, I want to say consistent. It's not really consistent. It's not the word I'm looking for, but at a decent level. I thought he played fairly well last year. He kept seeing him drop really good numbers. He's a very good communicator. But Infuse need that right now. Infuse really need him to be that guy, because the rest of his team got to kind of go under his leadership a little bit. So for me, for MarkyB, it's going to see whether he can stick with this squad. Now he's with Infuse for a little while. He's been in the Infuse squad for quite a long time. This is a guy who was with TCM for 2 years and then bounced between loads of teams. So hoping to see him stick it out. I think we're going to see Marky come further and further into this year. I hope he doesn't get dropped again, because that would probably be gutting for Marky. Especially when, like I said, I think he's been playing so well. I just want to see him keep doing it. I think this is definitely the game for him to do it on. His team around him are good at this game. They just need to kind of keep the composure and keep their heads about them towards the end of some series, and not worry too much about the pressure. I think that's the issue that team's having. MarkyB is going to be a big factor in that. If Marky can keep his kind of team on that level, he should be fine. And the last player actually is another player from Millennium. I almost had 4 players from Millennium in here, but I didn't pick Madcat in the end because I kind of know what to expect from Madcat. But this one is Jurd. And Jurd was a really obvious one to put into this list, because He played in America. He got massive recognition in America, even though he doesn't social media, whatever. He doesn't care. He doesn't do any of that. And I think this guy is looking. I already think he's the most valuable player in Europe. I think he's the most valuable player in Europe. And I think a lot of people are going to recognise that this year. I believe out of all the players currently in Europe, Jurd is the one player who could walk onto any team and you would make space in your team to have him. I can't really think of a squad that wouldn't take him. There's no reason not to ever go, well, it's Jurd, let's pick him up. Now, because this guy is so good, and he's so talented, and his skills have been improved by playing in America for so long, that there's no way you could not watch him this year. And I expect him to be the absolute monster he should be. His team and his teammates around with him as well are going to give him that breathing room he needs to excel at his top form. So yeah, for me, I think it's going to be another year of King Jurd. I think he is the most valuable player in Europe right now. You can see if a few other people overtake him. There are some other players that may do well. But yeah, right now, like I said, I think Jurd's the most valuable player. That's why he's kind of on this list. Like I said, this is just kind of the players I'm looking at this year. If you want to disagree, that's absolutely fine. There are a lot of honourable mentions that could go on this list. A lot of people I haven't covered. There are so many players I haven't covered. More because, like I said, this is just a lot of personal opinion and players I'm going to keep an eye on. And I'm sure we're going to see more kind of generate throughout the year. But like I said, this is for me, the players you should probably be keeping an eye on. There's a few stories there, that some that may fizzle out, that some may actually explode. A lot of big names on this list, because I said there's been a few stories actually come through AW, and we should be kind of mindful of what's happened in the past so we can see how people will perform in the future. But yeah, if you like this video, please give us a like. If there's anyone else you think I should really have been talking about, please leave a comment below. Let me know. I'm more than open to kind of discuss this with people. I discussed this list many times with pros before actually putting it up, including some that weren't even on the list, and they were kind of I was talking through it with them. So yeah, let me know. Also, if you want us to hit that subscribe button, that'd be fantastic. That means I'll probably spam it less on Twitter. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you all next time.